about Johann Gutenberg, the pioneer of the printing press. Everyone can see? All right, you can type in the chat as well if you feel more comfortable responding that way. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you guys to each read a paragraph, okay? Alexander, do you mind starting with this first paragraph here?
Well, sure. Johann Gutenberg was chosen to be the most important figure of the past millennium.
This is millennium.
Millennium.
Perfect.
By the media. You may not be familiar with him, but he has definitely influenced your life to some extent. Gutenberg is credited with inventing the printing press and consequently paving the way for printing books.
Okay, good. All right, and who wants to try the second paragraph here? This is a bit shorter. Ewan, you want to give it a shot?
Okay.
Thank you.
He was born into a noble family in the city of Mainz, Germany. His early training was in goldsmithing. In 1428, he moved to Strasbourg and lived there for over 20 years. It was in Strasbourg that he probably made his first experiments with movable type.
Okay, good. So we know where Johann Gutenberg is from now and where he grew up. Brian, you want to tackle the third paragraph here?
Gutenberg utilized techniques of metalwork such as casting, punch cutting, and stamping for the mass production of books. In those days, books in Europe were handwritten by scribes in a Gothic script with many flourishes and ligatures, interconnected letter pairs. To reproduce this look, Gutenberg fashioned a font of over 300 characters, larger than the fonts of today. To make this possible, he invented the variable width mold and perfected the blend of lead, antimony, and tin used by type foundries up to the present century.
Great. Okay, so last two. Ewan, since you read the shorter one, I'll have you do the next one, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
By 1450, Gutenberg was back in Mainz, worked on printing press. Between 1450 and 1455, preparing to produce a large folio Latin Bible, Gutenberg is thought to have printed a number of smaller books, calendar, and a papal letter of indulgence. The Bible of 42 lines, the oldest surviving printed book in the Western world, was completed by August 15, 1456. And while it is not credited to Gutenberg, he appears to have relieved of his supervisory position and his press for the time of its publication. Ironically, no printing material was ever created to Gutenberg during his lifetime.
Okay, and Alexander, can you do this last short one?
Well, sure. The discovery of the modern printing press changed the way information was delivered. In fact, this invention was responsible for educating the mass worldwide. Even today, in the computer age, we rely heavily on the printing word or text for instruction, information, and for the pleasure of reading literature.
Exactly. Okay, good. So, can I ask you guys each to think about how then Johann Gutenberg's work has influenced your life? Oh, let's see. Thank you. So yeah, after reading that, how do you think that Johann Gutenberg has changed your life personally? Thank you, Ewan. So, of course, if he created printing and the printing press, for example, that makes me think of people who do art, and I like doing art sometimes. And of course, I couldn't have used canvas paper if I didn't have Johann Gutenberg's printing press, right? If you didn't know, there are many different ways to make paper, or like different forms. So if without his invention, there couldn't have been all these different ways that paper could be made for a different result in art. What about you guys? Brian, is there any way that you think that Johann Gutenberg's printing press and his, let's see what it says. A lot of reading. Okay, yeah, that's a good point. So otherwise, without having paper and having print and script on it, of course you couldn't read books. We couldn't read this paper right now, right? What about the rest of you guys? You and Alexander? Reading is part of your day. Exactly. And I can tell because you're really good at it. So it's definitely part of my day too. And as we talk about later with the book, The Hunger Games, of course, we couldn't have read that without it. And we wouldn't have been able to see all these wonderful images and visualizations. Okay, yeah. Ewan, has Johann Gutenberg's printing press impacted your life?
Right, in school.
Yeah, in school. So you use paper for which classes?
Like every class.
Every class, right? That's exactly it. So you use it for every single class, unless you moved into maybe using laptops more often. But yeah, exactly. There's a couple of letters to be read constantly, said Brian. So there's even when you're playing games, when you're like you use paper and everything, right? In creation of most inventions nowadays. And Alexander, any thoughts?
I think also the homeworks were given.
Exactly. And everything is basically on paper, like especially for people older than us, paper was all they knew. They didn't have the ability to use technology in the way that we do, right? Okay, so let's just quickly go through the questions and we can move on as well. Okay, so why was the printing press such an important invention? You can just call it out. Either books
Books can be made easily.
Yes, perfect. So that's it. What was Gutenberg trained as? And if you want me to go back up to show you the text again, I can do that for you. So was it a metalworker, a goldsmith, a writer, or a graphic artist? Do you want me to go back up, guys? What did you remember? Oh, you have done it. Okay. So you should know the answer then, huh? Okay, so I'll go back up so we can look. So what was Gutenberg trained as? A metalworker, goldsmith, writer, or graphic artist? From what you read, you can see.
I think he was a goldsmith.
Yes, that's right. So it says early training was in goldsmithing. So there's our answer. Number 3 out of 9, what type of family were the Gutenbergs? Poor family, wealthy family, large family, or small family?
Noble, so probably wealthy.
Exactly. Nobles are usually wealthy, and that's how they maintain their position in society, right? Okay, let's keep going, guys. What did Gutenberg first experiment with? Movable type, new fonts, a new kind of paper, or writing books?
Wait, can I look at the answers again?
Yeah, sure. Movable type, new fonts, a new kind of paper, or writing books? What did he first experiment with?
Fonts?
New fonts. Let's see. Yes. So he fashioned a font of over 300 characters, far larger than the fonts of today. And that's how he was experimenting, right? With what's called variable width mold and his blend to make the type. Okay, almost done, guys. Where did Gutenberg first begin his experiments? Mainz, Berlin, Strasbourg, or Vienna? Mainz, Berlin, Strasbourg, or Vienna, according to the text. Sorry about the slashes in the middle.
Strasbourg.
Strasbourg. Which paragraph is that in?
Second paragraph.
Is that where he began? Yeah, it is. You're right. So yeah, Strasbourg. Good job, Ewan. 6. What techniques did Gutenberg use for the mass production of books? Goldsmithing, metalwork, blacksmithing, plumbing. Goldsmithing, metalwork, blacksmithing, or plumbing. What techniques did he use?
Metalwork, because he mixes a bunch of different metals together.
Good. Good job, guys. Almost done. Let's see. 7. When was the Bible first completed? All right, there's a bunch of numbers. 1656, 1428, 1456, 1450, 1455.
In 55.
Are you
Wait,
sure?
no. Something about 56.
56, good job, yes. Okay, that's a long time ago, guys, right? How many characters were there in Gutenberg's font? 200, 300, 400, 100, 500.
300.
300, you're right. Good memory. Okay, and last one, why were there no printed materials ever credited to Gutenberg when he was alive? He didn't finish any books. He was relieved of his duty. He died suddenly. I'll read it again just in case you don't remember. He didn't finish any books. He was relieved of his duty. He died suddenly. Why was he not credited?
He was relieved of his supervisory position.
Okay, yeah, you got it. So he was relieved of his position. What does that mean, guys? What does it mean?
Fired.
He got fired, yeah. Well, sometimes it could be something not as bad. Like it could be that the company is downsizing, which is what you call when you have to get rid of certain groups of employees because the company can't pay that many people, right? For whatever reason. So yeah, if you guys had ever wondered like where was paper invented? When was text invented? A long time ago now, right? And of course, you see all these documents from all these years ago. Okay, this is a bit unrelated. So we're just gonna move on to our spectrum writing, okay? Any questions, guys? Makes perfect sense, right? Or no? You're gonna take your silence as we're good. Okay, so I have a different worksheet here, and I just want to see how you guys feel with writing and essay writing and how you guys would construct a paragraph, right? If you're writing for any purpose. Hold on, let me move this over. And okay. So can everyone see my screen with the main ideas and details page? Yes, okay, thank you. Okay, so I'll just read this first for you, and then we'll read the green part together, okay? So it says main ideas and details. What do you guys get from that? Like, what does that mean to you when it comes to writing? Alexander, any thoughts? So what's the main idea? And what's the difference between a main idea and a detail when it comes to writing? But basically, what I think it would mean is what is your main point, right? What's the point of the paragraph or the sentence that you're writing? What are you trying to get across to the reader, right? And then
Pro scary.
what?
Pro is scary.
Okay. Crow is scary. Yeah. We don't have to look at it for that long. Okay. So the details, then what's the difference between the details, right? The details support your argument. So your main idea is usually also known as your argument, because in every piece of writing, you're usually trying to say something, right? Even if it's just a very small thing. But then your details come into play when you write them out to support your argument and prove your point. And usually you'll have a couple of details for 3 to 5 or something, depending on how long your sentence is, okay? All right. Ewan, do you want to read this first part for me, if that's okay?
Not all paragraphs have a topic sentence. Sometimes rarely leave it out. The paragraph still has a main idea, but the writer is choosing not to state the main idea in the paragraph. Here's an example.
Okay, thank you. So why would a writer leave out their main idea? or topic sentence? Is it that every time that you read something, it just says right in the middle what it's about? Think of like when it comes to poetry, not everything is very clear. Sometimes you have to read it and make sense of the meaning in your own like head, right? So sometimes they leave it out just to give a different feel to the writing, because writing can be very emotional or can give you a different ambiance or a different sense, right? So sometimes they leave it out, sometimes they put it in to make things more clear. Depends on the author or what the piece of writing they're doing. Okay, I'll read you the green part, okay? And then we'll move on to the questions after. Okay, so here we go. I was awakened by a bird this morning. It wasn't the sweet little chirp chirp that you read about in children's stories. It was the squawk squawk of a crow. He was right outside my window and he was loud, let me tell you. Why did he choose my window? What was he squawking about? It was not a good start to my day. Okay, so the first question here is, what is the main idea of the paragraph above? So I'll leave it up here so you guys can read it. What is the main idea? Alexander, do you have any ideas?
Let me think about it.
Oh yeah, sure. Thank you. I'll let you guys think about it for a second, yeah. Yeah, it could be that. They could be definitely. Yeah, okay, so you could, Brian's going for a more like in-depth I guess way of looking at it, perspective. Ewan's kind of pointing out, okay, this is what's happening, right? So they're both good answers. But yeah, so you could say that if you wanted to keep it at base level, like well, this is what it says: a crow is squawking by the narrator's window. That's right. But then Brian's kind of probably focusing more on the, why did he choose my window? What was he squawking about? Like, what does this mean, right? And how in our lives, like, are crows posited as positive things or maybe more negative things, right? Usually they're more negative as compared to like a canary or a light-colored bird. So you kind of answered the first question. Okay, so then this part is more of a hands-on activity where you write a paragraph about like your own perspective on birds, right? So I think if you guys can choose one and come up with 3 details. Do you guys want to do, I don't know anything about birds, I like watching birds, or I would like to be a bird? I want to be a bird. Okay, solid. What about you and Alexander? You guys are okay with the 3rd one? Oh, the first one. Okay, we just do 2. I mean, it's not a big deal. Okay, let's do both then, because I don't think we can do all 3. Thank you. I think we're just gonna talk about it because I don't think unless you want to write it. Do you guys want to write it down? I was just gonna do it verbally. What are you guys thinking? You are? Okay. Okay, so Brian, you can start, you can type it or however you like. Write a paragraph in which you support your main idea with details. Remember to choose one. So you chose the 3rd one, right? Decide whether you'll put the beginning, in the middle, or the end. Okay, so yeah, you can type it out or in the chat, or you can write it like with actual paper and read it to us. And Alexander, you want to do the first one. So do you want to talk about it or do you want to write it? It's no big deal if you just want to. I think we can just talk about it. Yeah, okay, so let's do that. Okay, Brian, do you want to just write yours on your own then? Because then me and Alexander, we're just gonna dive in. Okay, so we want to do the first one. I don't know anything about birds. Now we have to write the paragraph, right? So I'll just type it out for you guys right here. I don't know anything about birds. So what is your supporting detail, Alexander? Is there a reason behind, your topic sentence, right? Usually for this, we're going to explain why, explain something, right? That's what our details are there for. Okay, so you just have to say,
yeah.
Yeah, so what do you think is the reason or the explanation behind this? Or Ewan, you can help out too, of course.
I've never really learned about them.
Never really learned about them. So would you say you never given the opportunity to learn about them, or you never chose to?
I never chose to.
Never chose to learn about them. Okay. And Alexander, what are you thinking?
I think I don't want to read about them.
You don't want to. Okay, that's a good reason too. Of course, you want to do things that you want to do, right? So I never. We'll get to yours in a minute, okay, Brian? Thank you for waiting. Wanted to learn about them. Okay, so how could we start our paragraph about, what else do we need to write, right? So we never chose and never wanted to. What else can we say? I think we need maybe four total. So 2 more things. Have you guys ever seen one close up maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that even though we have seen it close up, maybe we didn't understand what body parts were and what we were looking at. Do you want to put that down?
Sure.
Sure. Okay.
Sure.
Thanks, guys. So even despite being up close, I wouldn't say a lot of times, right? Maybe sometimes we still did not understand much about them, right? Because the point is that we don't know anything about birds. Okay, just put one more thing, and then we can start forming our paragraph. Yeah. Either of you guys, even Brian, if you want to contribute, you're totally welcome to.
I know a lot about birds.
You do? Okay, so I guess if you can, it's hypothetical. So if you want to contribute to this part, yeah. Otherwise, you and Alexander, anything else you can think of?
But they don't like cats.
You don't like cats?
They don't like cats.
They don't like cats. Okay.
They have a lot of natural enemies. Pretty much everything wants to kill them.
Yeah, they are pretty low on the food chain. I would agree. It will take it down just because they are hunted by cats, you could say.
Yeah, they are hunted by pretty much anything. But it depends on what type of animal they are, right?
Yes.
Which
I mean maybe
species
a
of bird.
peregrine falcon could be a cat, a big one.
I wouldn't want to be a falcon.
You would?
I mean a crow, because they're the smartest of birds.
They are very keen. Okay, many other predators. Okay.
They're not hunted much.
Yeah, I don't actually know that much about crows.
I've seen a couple of crows fight off a falcon-looking thing.
In real life?
Yeah.
What?
At a cell phone tower over there.
That is insane, I'll be honest. What are the odds?
A couple of them. I think the falcon was very mad.
Okay. So let's see. We got our points. We got some of our points. We can come up with more as we go. Otherwise, it can be a short paragraph. So our main topic sentence was, I don't know anything about birds, right? And I guess that represents all of us. So how would do you want to put this in the middle or the end or the beginning?
Beginning.
Beginning. Okay, we can start off with that. Sounds good. So what's our next, what will we say after to support our point? How would we keep going from this point on for our paragraph? So you could say something like, this is because, or you should put downsides in the middle of the paragraph. What do you mean downsides?
The downside of being a bird.
Oh, you mean the downsides of, oh, okay. I don't know if that supports our topic sentence of not knowing anything about the bird. Because then you would know something about the bird if you were able to point the downsides. I mean, maybe you can point the upsides about not knowing anything. Okay, I mean, I'll write that down. Yeah, so what do you guys want to say next to build your paragraph? Okay.
There's so many of them.
Yes, there's so many, yeah. Okay, so let's continue here. I don't know anything about birds. So do you want to say this is because?
Okay, give a reason.
Yeah, this is the reason. Okay, so this is because, and which one do you want to put first? These of the possible details.
Never wanted to.
Okay, this is because we, I'm going to say I, because we already used I at the beginning. I never wanted to learn about them. And then
Since they are boring?
sure. I mean, that's a personal opinion, so like we can really say anything. Since they are boring, or we find them boring. Say, I find them boring, okay.
They are tasty.
Only food to you? I see, okay.
Anything could be food.
Okay, so we got this one, so this one's good. And then which point next?
Probably the first one.
First one, okay, sure. I never chose to learn anything about them. Would you say that you got the chance to learn and you just didn't because you didn't choose to?
Yeah.
You can say like, just because we have the internet and we have books and libraries and friends maybe who know stuff and you just didn't choose to learn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you kind of have the resources you need to learn about it, but just so happens that you didn't choose to. Okay, I never chose to learn anything about them, even though I have the resources available. Okay, is that good, guys? Okay, pretty sure we've covered those two, and then that's weird. Okay, what? It's gone. No. Okay, it's okay. So we have the last 3 points. I don't know what happened there. So despite seeing up close sometimes, we still not understand much about them. I think that's a full sentence, right? And then, do you guys want to talk about the last two? So then we have they're hunted by cats. So maybe that's a reason that we didn't choose, like, know anything about it. Or
It just seems so common.
that's a good point, actually. So like finding things common can make it uninteresting.
What could possibly be so interesting about them?
Yeah, or like that's a good point too. So what could make them so interesting, worthwhile? Right, okay. And so we had like never wanted to learn about them, never chose to learn about them, even though we could. So then we also have the point that Brian made, like, oh, they're very common. So that, let me just probably make this a sentence. Birds are very common where we live. I'm assuming you guys live in a bird populated area. So it makes
So many pigeons.
Yeah, lots of pigeons seem uninteresting to us. And then you could, as always, you can just posit a question to the audience, like by just generally asking, like, what can make them interesting? Why should I be compelled to learn about them, right? And I think to this point, the hunted by cats, like that brings to a point that the fact that there are many other possible predators and animals for us to learn about instead. So we could say, we could learn about these other animals instead of common birds. Okay, and do you think there's anything to say for the last one? Possible upsides about not knowing anything of birds? You and Alexander, you guys haven't spoke for a second. Do you want to contribute? It's okay if you guys think we're good, and like we would have had a great paragraph if it didn't delete itself. You think we're okay? Do you have any thoughts on the last one? If it's not, that's okay. So yeah, so we had we don't know anything about birds because they're very common, and we never chose to learn anything about them. We never wanted to learn anything about them. And then we had the next point about it being very common where we live, so it makes them more uninteresting, and we don't know what can make them so interesting or worthwhile to learn about. And yet we had some close encounters with them sometimes. So despite seeing them up close, sometimes we still did not understand much about them because you can't really learn something very detailed when you're just looking from afar, right? Usually people want to touch something to figure it out, right? And our last few points, they're hunted by cats and other predators. So then we can learn about those instead of something that's already at the bottom of the food chain. And for the possible upsides, I mean, I think we covered kind of some of them, like just being able to learn other stuff instead. So yeah, we would have made a really good paragraph, guys. Anything else you want to add? Or I'm going to read Brian's paragraph and see what we're working with there. No? Okay, we're good. Okay, so let's see what he wrote. Okay, let me make this a bit bigger because it's a bit wide. So I'm just gonna read yours aloud, okay, Brian? I would like to be a bird because birds can be smart. Crows are the smartest of them all, so I want to be a crow. Being a bird means being able to fly, being super aware of everything around you. You can see what's behind you and you can get adopted by being friendly. Yeah. Birds are usually scared of humans because they are smart enough to know you might hurt them. But your neighborhood pigeon won't be too scared of you because they probably moved in when the city was created. That's a good point. I think that you made a really good argument because it would be very cool to fly, right? And they have like basically the whole city is their home, and they get very smart, being able, like birds, some breeds can talk, right? So that's pretty good evidence of how skilled they are and how intelligent they are potentially could be, right? And maybe and he brought up the good point that birds might be scared of you just because like they don't know what you'll do to them. They're just on the defense. So what is your main point? It would be, I would like to be a bird, right? Oh yes, go ahead. You can eat raw meat. You can technically eat some raw meat as humans, but you won't have very good food though. If the seasoning is good because it makes it taste good. Oh, that's true. You can still eat fries. Okay, so guys, would you rather be on the side of I want to be a bird still, or would you rather be on the side of I don't want to learn anything about birds still? I think, Brian, we know your side. Ewan, Alexander, do you guys want to be a bird, or do you guys still just don't care about birds?
Maybe I want to learn something about birds.
That's good. I'm glad that you're interested in learning about them now. I mean, like, it was kind of hard to think of reasons why we shouldn't learn about it because it was kind of hard to think of something why we wouldn't want to learn about it because it is a positive thing to learn about other stuff, right? Like that's something that we should always be doing, even as you get older. You want to keep learning. But let's see. Ewan says, I don't care because I have too many things to do. Yeah, maybe you want to be a bird because you won't be as busy, you know? Maybe that's what you really need, just to become a different species. Okay, yeah, so then, I mean, we covered everything for that topic. Let's just quickly jump to our games book club section. So, do you have any questions about the last two parts? No. Do you guys have, so how do you guys build a good paragraph then? A meaningful paragraph, I think I should say, because you can write about nothing, but I would love for you to write about something very important and well thought out. So I would like
to take something personal.
to something personal. Yeah, a lot of times, what would you call that connection?
Relatable or text to self.
Text to self, exactly. And that's what you learn about, right? In school, they always tell you make text to world, text to self, and text to text connections, right? And that's really important. That's something you'll take as you go on to university and beyond, because always relating it back to what's important in the world or for yourself in your own life is what's going to make your writing meaningful. Ewan, what makes a good paragraph after what we just discussed?
Getting a lot of good ideas.
That's a good point. Yeah. So like, what are you going to write about if you don't have any good ideas to talk about, right? So you want to make sure that your paragraph, again, is important, because if it's important, then you'll have a lot to say. If it's just like whatever, then you're just going to have like a couple points maybe, right? Or if, as long as it means something to you and you're able to build a good argument, even if maybe that's not your personal opinion, that means that's a good point. Alexander, last one, your thoughts on what builds a good paragraph?
I think it will make the readers interested in their topics.
Okay, yeah. So, how can you make something meaningful? It's just by making sure you're talking about something important, which is usually people care about really important things, of course, right? So if it's important to you, it can be very convincing to make it, and which makes it important to other people. So again, we covered that it needs a good main topic. So even when you're writing an essay, does every paragraph have a good point? Does every paragraph need to have a strong point in an essay? Why do you think no?
Maybe there could be a paragraph that is the closing sentence.
Would you not consider that a good point still? Like a point at least, you know?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I think
closing sentence.
Yeah, so I see what you're saying, but basically, at least in my belief, every paragraph should have an important point. So that in every paragraph's detail should build on that point, right? Like that's how we write essays even at a higher level. So yeah, are you guys, any questions from you guys? Okay, so let's move on to who has read The Hunger Games or who didn't read it. Brian, you did? Ewan, just a nod or not none?
I've read the first and second book.
Okay, Alexander?
Actually, I didn't read that.
That's okay, just checking. So that in that case, we'll just try to pull you up to the same page, okay? So I'm gonna pull up the book on my screen. Just give me a second, it's loading. What chapter are you on, Brian? Because you're done already, right? So hold on one second. I'm just pulling it up. Let me see what you guys said. I watched all the movies, read the first, read half the second, decided it sucks. Okay, so you're done. Okay, so only 2 of you guys have read it, and Alexander hasn't. Okay. Alexander, we're gonna talk about it, so I hope you're not afraid of spoilers. Okay, so last I knew that you guys were on chapter 21. Did you guys just finish it recently? When did you guys finish the book? Or
I haven't.
sorry?
I don't think we finished it last time. I think we just got to somewhere around the beginning of part 3.
Part 3, as in like part 3 of the first book, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, that makes sense. Okay, so you guys finished it on your own time.
Oh no, we read it last with the last teacher.
Yeah. And then like you finished it with her?
Got to part 3.
Oh, okay. Wait, then you
I
guys,
can't remember the ending. There was something about.
oh. Ewan, do you
No,
remember
that's
what
the
happened?
second book. I forgot what happened at the ending.
I remember what?
You remember what happened in the end of the first book?
Yeah.
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 Okay. Okay, I'm sorry, Alexander, if you didn't want to get spoiled, but we are going to discuss it. So I did read it kind of recently. So we have, who's our main character? Easy, let's just go through it. Who's our main
Katniss.
Katniss what?
Katniss Everdeen.
Everdeen, and who's the second character, I guess you could say? Who are
Peter's mom.
Peeta Malark?
Peter's mom.
Are you serious? I don't remember it that well. Okay. Wait, is she alive? I'm pretty sure his parents were alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who else is important in the book?
Primrose Everdeen.
Yeah, and
Katniss's mom.
Katniss's mom.
Gail.
Peter's mom.
Yeah. Okay.
Rue.
Yeah, because if Peter's mom didn't exist, he would not have been mean to Peter, and Peter would not have burned the bread, and Peter would not have to throw out the bread to give to Katniss, or else she would have died.
Yes, you're right. I mean, you do have
Yeah.
a solid argument. She is important in the fact that she caused a lot of consecutive things to happen. Okay.
MVP of the book.
MVP? Yeah. Maybe to some. Okay, who else is an important character?
Cato or Rue.
Cato, Rue, yeah. What about people in the capital?
Effie Hammett.
Yeah. Would you say
President Snow.
I was gonna say President Snow, and we said Gale, right?
Yeah, Cena too.
You know, right? Yes. And even Portia maybe, kind of. Okay, and what is the symbol that is used in the book as a sign?
Mockingjay.
Mockingjay. And where did she get the Mockingjay from? Do you remember?
From Madge.
Madge. Brian, you remember that or no? Yeah, okay, solid. So what do you think are the main themes of this book? It requires a bit of thought, so you can think about it. So of course we said rebellion, right? There are people, oh, okay. The mayor. I don't remember anything with the mayor, but I agree that the president was indeed very upset. Why was he upset? That kind of talks.
Because
Got outsmarted.
Wait, what did you even say?
two tributes from District 12 survived.
Yeah. What did you say, Brian? Sorry, you talked over each other.
Because they got outsmarted.
They got outsmarted, exactly. And do people in power like being outsmarted?
No.
No.
Angry.
Why does that make them unhappy?
They're supposed to be the cool kids in town.
They are. What did you say, Ewan?
They kind of look weak.
They make them look weak.
Yeah, and they're embarrassed.
Yep.
Their insanely fragile egos.
Yes, of which they have many very fragile egos. So if they don't want to be outsmarted and they want to maintain their power, how do they usually go about doing that? You can use the book or talk about in general.
Kill
Control.
people.
Kill people, control. Alexander, how do you think that people who are up at the top of the social hierarchy, in the government usually, or in nobility, how do they usually maintain their power? It's a hard question, so take your time. Or you can answer when you think of one. So like, how does Katniss in particular? Oh, yeah. Well, usually they're a commoner. How does Katniss particularly, what actions did she take that were in rebellion throughout maybe the games or even in her own past life?
Did something in the games that wasn't supposed to happen.
Okay, guys.
Yeah, putting out the berries.
Okay, Brian, go first. Sorry. You go second.
So first, he does the thing for her sister Prim, which like people like that a lot, but the president doesn't like it because
What are you talking about
they want-
specifically?
at the beginning of the book when Katniss's sister Prim gets picked for the reaping.
Mhm.
I'm gonna guess that the president does not like that because having littler kids in the Hunger Games would make it more fun
Yes.
because they like it when it's cool for some reason.
It's more exploitative, right?
Yeah. So then Snow don't like it. And then she does the thing at the end of the book where she threatens to kill herself along with PETA.
Yeah.
And then somebody rushes to the microphone and says, "Oh no, don't do that.
Yeah.
You guys can win now."
I also
And
forgot his name.
Snow hates that. And second book is no, yeah, she digs up secrets of Snow and spreads it. Snow hates it, so Snow tries to kill her. There's something
Right.
along the line of that.
Oh yeah, she's a threat to his power, right? Yeah, and Ewan, let's see what you said. So Katniss volunteers for Prim. That was the first strike, to be honest. And then she also, as her defining act of rebellion, she pulls out the berries from the pouch and she was going to eat it in a double suicide with PETA, right? Yeah. So why did they get so upset about that act?
Two people won, and I forgot what his name was. Could have, like, the person who said that both of them won, could have just like killed one of them easily with like a natural disaster or something.
Yeah, here I'll find the name. I also can't remember his name. Okay, 1 second. He was like the spokesman for the games.
Yeah.
Killing me because I would know his name. Where is it? No, I don't think it's Caesar Flickerman. He's the game maker though, right? Yeah, so basically either way, it's a threat to his power because it's a threat to Snow's power because they need someone to win the games in order to do what?
More games.
Yeah, to keep the games basically going, right? If they
Go
just
to the bathroom.
yeah, I said
please.
yes. Don't worry, go ahead. Yeah, his name is Claudius Temple Smith. Here, I'll see if I can share my screen. Okay. Share. So yeah, see it says the frantic voice of Claudius Temple Smith shouts above them. Stop, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to present the victors of the 74th Hunger Games, Katniss Everdeen and PETA Millark. I give you the tribute of District 12. What happened in the beginning of the beginning of the games that led them to believe that both of them could win?
So the love act, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point. But basically, I don't know if you're gonna remember this, so I'll just say it. They're at the beginning of the games, they announced that they could let 2 people win.
Oh, that was like in the middle of the games. I
Oh, the
think.
beginning? Okay. Yeah, so during it, I guess, then they said that both could win. So then why did they have to try to do the double suicide then? Because they took their word back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, actually no, there can only be one, right? And then Katniss felt what? What do you think she felt?
Like one, but what one?
Wait, what was the question?
Yeah, don't worry. So I was saying that what happened during the games that allowed them to believe that they could both win?
Didn't they say something about the fact about they could both win?
Yeah, so during
And
the
then they changed it.
Mhm. During the middle of the game, they were like, "Hey, you guys can both win." And then, of course, Peeta and Katniss were like, "What?
Yay.
Yay!" So they're very happy because they don't want either of them to die. Of course, even going into it, they didn't want that. So then, at the end, would you say that Katniss was played by the Capitol or the game makers?
Yeah.
They said that both of them can't win according to the rules.
Yeah,
And
because
they put out the berries.
they can change the rules whenever they want, right? And that's not super fair. So
False hope is the worst kind of hope because it gets taken away from you.
Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah, so that was clearly terrible. But then they outsmarted them afterwards anyway by trying to take the berries, the Nightlock berries, right? Okay, so then what other themes did we not cover? So we were talking about rebellion and we were talking about power, right? What other themes do you see evident in the story? Or I'll ask a different question. What similarities does our society share with the Hunger Games society? Is there a difference in people in power and people who aren't?
Yes.
Yeah,
This is classist.
classism. That's right. There's our third theme, right? It's very evident that they have a strong classist perspective in their society. Does everyone know what classism means? Just checking. Classism. Alexander, you know what classism is?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I just don't want to leave you behind because, you know. Okay. Yeah, so then how does Peeta, Haymitch, and Katniss manipulate romance in order to survive?
There's a thing about sponsors.
Mm-hmm. And we're gonna wrap up soon, but like, do you think that what Katniss and Peeta did in order to survive, as in falsify their romance, do you think that was wrong?
Yeah, I mean, it's to survive
Mhm.
in a even more. It's not that brutal when the public finds out the love was fake, which they definitely never will.
Yeah.
They wouldn't really care. Say I was really invested in a relationship between 2 people, and then turns out it was actually fake, just for money. I would say, yeah, I respected money.
Do you think that you see that as well in our society? Do you see that in your life? Not particularly your life, but like, you know.
Yes, but not to keep themselves alive.
Hopefully not.
From it, not, but just to get social media points.
Yeah, that's a good point. What about you, Ewan? I thought you were gonna say something, but I'm not sure. Ewan, any thoughts? Alexander, any thoughts either?
No.
No? Okay, that's okay. Yeah, so they had to do what they had to do to survive, right? And it was very fair for them to, I guess, manipulate the public's perception of them in order to get more food and also increase the likelihood of survival. So just to wrap up, did you guys like this book? Would you recommend it? And what did you like or dislike? This was at 8, but I ended a little, sorry, I started a little early because I had some trouble logging in. So I'm just gonna give you like this last minute or two to answer this last question about your opinion on the book. Is that okay?
I think it's pretty
This is a
good.
good book.
Sorry,
Good
I
book.
got you guys. Ewan, go.
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, what did you like about it then?
Mostly just the games.
The games, was it interesting?
Mostly what happens in the games.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, that, I mean, I would keep going, but I don't have much time. Brian, you were saying you liked it as well?
I liked it because of the details.
Mm.
There was the way too less detail, way too much detail, and the perfect amount of detail for me to feel like the character. It feels like I am the character.
Okay.
I'm really immersed. But the second one was Katniss moved her right ear by 1 millimeter. Too
Okay,
much
I don't remember
detail.
that because I didn't read the second one along.
Oh yeah, not that was an exaggerated example.
Oh, okay.
Like
Okay. Oh, Alexander's gone. Okay, maybe he has to go. But like, okay, so I'm glad that you guys liked the book. I also really liked the book. I read it a couple of times when I was like your age. So I will wrap up. I'll wrap up now because I don't want to keep you guys for too long in case you have something to do.